Hello, my name is Victor Edet, a teacher of economics from the Nigerian Tulip International College. Today, I'm going to be treating UTME questions 2018, questions 1 to 20. Kindly come along with me. Question 1. Occupational distribution of population is mainly influenced by population can be categorized in many forms. For instance, we have age distribution where we categorize population according to the age group of the citizen. We also have gender distribution, but here we have occupational distribution. In occupational distribution, we are looking at distributing the population according to the jobs that they do. So the occupational distribution of population is mainly influenced by the economic factors. A. Question 2. The reward for capital is one of the factors of production alongside land, labor, and entrepreneur. And capital in economics is those things that we use in furtherance of wealth to get additional wealth. Now, for examples of capital include buildings, motor vehicle, and the like. If there is no money for you to have your own capital, you definitely will maybe get it from the bank or borrow it. And if you are to get that or borrow that, you will pay additional fee, which is interest. That is why the reward for capital is interest. Number 3, the reduction in the value of a country's currencies in relation to the value of the currencies of other nations is known as. Now, this is where countries decide to bring down the value of their currency so that imported goods become more expensive in order for them to encourage locally made products. So when this is done, when the value of the country's currency is down in relation to other, it is devaluation. Number 4, mortgage banks give loans to investors on a long-term basis too. Now, mortgage banks are banks that help individuals and firms in a long-term basis for them to build their houses, to own properties. So mortgage banks give loans to investors on a long-term basis to build houses. D. Question 5. In a capitalist economy, factors of production are owned and controlled by in a capitalist economy or free market economy, we said the demand and supply is the one that determines price. In a capitalist economy, the question of who to produce and how to produce is determined by the citizens. And here, in a capitalist economy, factors of production are owned and controlled by the businessmen, control and own factors of production in the capitalist economy. But the opposite is a socialist economy where the government decide or own and control these factors. The establishment of industries in rural areas. Rural areas, we are talking about villages, suburbs. The establishment of industries in rural areas will help to reduce. Now, this is urban-rural. Urban-rural means people moving from town to the villages. This is impossible because when we say you are establishing industries in villages, what will it help to reduce? It will reduce people moving to the town. So it will reduce rural-urban migration. Rural-urban migration means people moving to town for greener pasture. So establishing industry in rural areas will reduce this. So the answer to that is B. Question 7. International trade is an application of the principle of international trade is trade between two or more countries. Now, no country deals with itself. Every country that you import, that means bring goods into the country and you export. So the principle of comparative cost advantage is saying countries should produce goods and services in which they have a lower opportunity cost. So international trade or comparative cost advantage encourages countries to produce or make services that they have lowest cost advantage. International trade is an application of the principle of comparative cost advantage. D. Question 8. the number of people who are qualified to work and who offer themselves for employment is called, this is the working population. Another word for working population, we call it the labor force. These are people that are qualified, they are ready to work, they are willing to work, and both are now, the labor force or the working population covers both the people that are employed and those that are unemployed. So the answer to this is the working population. Question 8. Which of the following is an advantage of localization of industry? Localization of industry is where you have firms and industry located in a particular area. Now, what would be an advantage if you have firms or industry in a particular area? Option A quickly pop up. Development of subsidiary firm. That means this location of industry will give rise to other firms, because firms will produce raw materials for this industry that are located in that area. Other firms will also maybe buy their product. Either they buy their finished goods or they sell raw materials to them. So one of the advantages of localization of industry is that it develops subsidiary firms, which is A. Question 10. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has been slow in achieving its objective because of the ECOWAS is the regional body of West African countries. And one of the things that have been making their objective slow is political instability. Because with political instability, their leadership keep on rotating, and different ideology from different leaders. And before one country can be stable, we have either military coup, just as we have around us, and counter coups. So the answer to this question is C, political instability. Joint ventures are partnership involving, now the answer that is likely there is government and private investors. Now a joint venture, just like what we have here, partnership, government and private investors come together to carry on a particular project. That the answer to this question is C. Question 12. In which of the following business units are the owners mostly the customers? Now we have different types of business units. We have the sole trader, we have the partnership, we have the limited company. But in cooperatives are a kind of business where people come together, they pool resources together, they buy things at a cheaper rate and sell among themselves at retail prices, which becomes cheaper because they are buying in bulk. So the type of business unit in which the owners are also the customers are cooperatives. We have different types of cooperatives. The answer to that question is A. Question 13. The formula price index of export over price index of import is used to measure. Now this formula is used to measure, to check for a country to check what is the value of the exports in relation to the value of its imports. Now they call it commodity terms of trade. Commodity terms of trade use this formula to check the relation of export to that of import. That's why we have price index of export over price index of import. The answer is C. Question 14. If specialization takes place, then, now from what we have here, we have two products and we have two countries. Let's take it that the countries are given the same resources. For instance, Ghana produced 8 tons of coffee and 7 tons of cocoa, and Sierra Leone produced 2 tons of coffee and 9 tons of cocoa. Remember what we said previously about international trade. Now here we are looking at the principle of cost advantage, where we are saying, can a country specializes in something it can produce more and then import the other one? What do I mean by this? Now, given the same resources, we said Ghana is producing 8 tons of coffee and 7 tons of cocoa, while Sierra Leone is producing 2 tons of coffee and 9 tons of cocoa. If Ghana move all its resources in producing cocoa, So it means these 8 tons will now become, Ghana will be producing 16 tons of coffee. 16 tons of coffee, while Sierra Leone, instead of using these same resources to make 2 tons of coffee, can channel all the resources here and produce 18 tons of coffee. 18 tons of coffee. So for Ghana, Ghana is producing 16 tons of coffee and Sierra Leone can produce 18 tons of cocoa. Now the advantage here is this. If Ghana is producing 16 tons of coffee just as we have here, it means it can easily export another 8 tons of coffee to Sierra Leone, which is better than its 2 tons. And if Sierra Leone is producing 9 tons of cocoa, it can easily import the other 9 tons of cocoa to Ghana. So the answer, Sierra Leone should produce cocoa and Ghana coffee. So the answer to this question is D. Question 15. Which of the following is an invisible item? Invisible item are things that are intangible, that we cannot touch. So invisible items include things like insurance, banking services, and transportation and the like. So the answer to this question is option D. 16. The full meaning of OPEC is an organization of petroleum exporting country. It's an organization of country that produce oil. So the answer to the question is option D, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. 17. The main concern of economists is to, now all these can be, or all these are concerns of economists. Economists, yes, want to control the growth of population. They want to distribute income between the rich and the poor, not really satisfy all human wants. It is not visible or realistic to satisfy all human wants. Now, in economics, we talk about means and ends. So we believe that resources are limited while human wants are unlimited. So we look at how to allocate those scarce resources to satisfy human wants. So the main concern of economics is to allocate scarce resources to satisfy human wants. Question 17. Productive resources can also be called, productive resources are those things that we put together to make production possible. And another language for productive resources are the factors of production, which we talked about earlier, the land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. So we have B. Question 19. The study of economics becomes necessary because of the, like I said, in the past 2 questions, we said in economics, the main concern is the fact that we have unlimited wants and limited resources. So we have scarcity of resources. The answer is B. 20. The type of demand that exists between torchlight and battery is, now, if you look at the relationship between these 2 products, torchlight and battery, realistically they go together because battery is used to power torchlight. It means if the demand for one increases, let's say the demand for torchlight increases, the demand for battery will also increase, because without the battery, you can't power the torchlight. It also means if demand for torchlight decreases, the demand for battery will also decrease. This type of demand, we call it the complementary demand. That's the end of this. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much.